Welcome to World Knowledge Channel. Currently, the United States is facing a variety of events and challenges, from the wildfire crisis to political tensions and the COVID-19 pandemic. In general, the situation in the United States is complex and requires efforts and cooperation from all sides to overcome the challenges facing it. We can see that the U.S. economy is not completely healthy, even in two opposite states, according to comments from President Joe Biden and his opponent Donald Trump. And American businesses are looking to hire millions of employees. The unemployment rate is also at its lowest level in decades. If you just look at these figures, the U.S. economy is doing very well. Because periods of low unemployment are often accompanied by high levels of prosperity. However, many other figures do not paint such a bright picture. For example, more and more Americans, especially young people, are taking on large credit card debt due to personal spending. Recently, the U.S. has received many reports. But the good news also comes with signs that make economists hesitate. The economy is not completely healthy. It looks vibrant, but there are still many concerns, said Gregory Darko, chief economist at EY. The two U.S. presidential candidates also have opposite views. President Joe Biden said that although there is still a lot of work to do, the economy is still booming and has never been brighter than it is now. Meanwhile, Mr. Donald Trump only sees the economy is going downhill and in disarray. Recruitment notices posted along a road in New Hampshire, USA. Recent U.S. labor market figures have always brought a sense of optimism about the world's largest economy. Currently, U.S. businesses need to hire 8.5 million workers. This number is far higher than before the pandemic. Meanwhile, only 6.5 million people are unemployed. In theory, there are more jobs than people looking for work. The Bureau of Labor Statistics also showed that average hourly wages for Americans have increased by 22% since the pandemic began. This growth is slowing, but it is still higher than inflation, nearly 4%. This is good news for consumers, because their incomes are actually increasing. Challenges. Although inflation has eased significantly from its 2022 peak, this figure is still nearly double the Federal Reserve's 2% target. This makes the Fed's fight against inflation last longer than expected. U.S. inflation has accelerated again since the beginning of this year, after a long period of cooling. Chart. CNN. This development surprised many Fed officials. Fed Governor Christopher Waller once said that the economy was ready for a rate cut. However, the first 3 months of the year have poured cold water on that outlook. Both inflation and economic activity data have been hotter than expected, he said at an event last week. The April CPI cooled a bit. If I were a teacher, I would give the April inflation report a C+. Not bad, but not great, he said. Advertisement. However, two recent Fed surveys showed that consumers expect inflation to accelerate this year. When inflation expectations rise, businesses will also calculate this into the prices of products and services. This will further push up inflation. Consumption, the main driver of U.S. GDP, is also declining. April retail sales were much lower than expected, showing that people are tightening their spending. A series of U.S. retailers have recently had to lower prices to attract buyers. This is an issue worth watching. But weak consumption is partly due to people spending heavily in previous months, said David Alcali, a strategist at Lazard. Darko also sees retail sales as a sign that consumers are being more cautious, but not necessarily saving. However, if consumption declines further, the economy will be negatively impacted. The most notable negative signal for the U.S. right now is the high level of debt among people. One of the reasons why consumption here is still vibrant, despite both inflation and interest rates being at their highest levels in decades, is that people have accumulated large sums of money during the pandemic. However, these funds have been spent. Many people have turned to credit cards to pay for daily life. Some even miss payments on time. A recent report from the New York Fed found that delinquent credit card payments are now at their highest since 2012. Consumer debt levels and delinquency rates are rising. If this continues, it will not only be a personal issue, but will have a macro impact that will require closer monitoring by the authorities, said Sung-Won Son, chief economist at SS Economics. As people lose more money to pay off debt, they will have to spend less on other things. As we know, delinquencies will also force banks to reduce risky lending, or raise interest rates. The combined effect of this policy could drag down the economy, even leading to a recession. There may be many jobs but low salaries, and cases where salaries have increased compared to before the pandemic are only concentrated in a few industries, or the upper class, so the average salary has increased. As for the majority of people with average or low income, inflation, prices have increased beyond their tolerance. There are many articles talking about renting houses or buying food and goods that are too expensive, so credit debt increases when they are used to the old way of spending, making it difficult to save. Income increases by 22% but inflation is 4%. There is not enough labor to recruit, so how can inflation be reduced to 2%? All measures proposed are to reduce income growth, reduce employment. Of course, the number of unemployed people, Social Security beneficiaries without salary will cry out. Trump's long-term pre-pandemic tax cuts, combined with the massive stimulus dollars pumped into the economy during and after the COVID pandemic, have left behind persistently high inflation, while military spending and aid have also pushed the U.S. federal debt to record highs. U.S. economy. Business. Tax pressure rises as U.S. home prices soar. Continuously rising home prices mean higher annual taxes, putting pressure on some Americans and creating headaches for local governments. 59. Japanese businesses in dire straits amid U.S.-China tensions. Japanese businesses are facing tough pressure as U.S.-China tensions rise, after decades of doing business smoothly in both countries. Zimbabwe tries to convince people to use new currency. After the Zimbabwean dollar plummeted in value, the country launched a new national currency amid public indifference. Starbucks' price war in China. Declaring not to participate in the price reduction race, but in fact Starbucks is still trying to pump. Mr. Biden is unlikely to cool down U.S. gasoline prices. U.S. President Biden's decision to release 1 million barrels of gasoline reserves during the peak summer consumption season is considered by analysts to be ineffective. If you find the video useful, please share it with more people and subscribe to the channel. Like, and if you have any questions, please leave a comment below. Thank you for watching. Goodbye and see you in the next video.